Hi, welcome to Detours Understanding Acquired Brain Injury. And today, as you can see, we have our co-host Lisa, who's been participating recently quite a bit, and she always does a good job with us. So, it's like we want to do something that's a little different. I know I say that a lot, but this one is going to be led by Lisa quite a bit. We're going to be talking about something that seems to be fairly unique to New Jersey. They have a really neat program to help families, parents who have kids who have brain injury. It helps with other um, kids who have other psychiatric problems, other kinds of problems, but this would have application most certainly for something we're interested in. And a lot of kids with traumatic brain injury also have psychiatric issues, of course, because brain injury obviously affecting the brain affects behavioral and emotional issues. And many of our kids who suffer TBI or acquired brain injury, anoxia, cardiac arrest, chemical exposure, things like that, have behavioral and psychiatric issues or are misdiagnosed in some cases. And of course, many of these services do apply outside of New Jersey. But Lisa, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about these services, these programs that you found and even used? I understand.
Yes, it's what we have in New Jersey is coordinated family care, and
Okay.
we have family support also, which kind of works hand in hand with each other. And it does help families. Well, CMO is more for helping the kids either with behavioral problems or mental illness, and like you said, definitely with traumatic brain injury because it kind of covers both. You know, they might have both behavior and mental illness. So they basically have what's called perform care, and that is like if you have a child that has behavioral issues, that is having problems in school, or mental illness as well, that they can't go to school, either due to anxiety, depression, there's many different reasons why. Basically, the parent would call perform care, and perform care would send somebody out to pretty much talk to them and see if they fit the criteria and if they would be able to receive, the CMO benefits. And if they do, great, because then they'll send a therapist out to the child, to their house. Um, Usually once a week, if I remember right. And it's for, I wish I could remember how long it was for, but I know they would tell you. I just can't remember right now. And that is really good. It really helps a child, as long as you get a good therapist. That does matter. And it does help also in school too. Like if the child needs accommodations, they would get a 504 plan in school. And if you have a child that needs a little bit more help, depending on what their disability is, like traumatic brain injury or mental illness, they can get an IEP, individualized education plan.
Mhm.
And that is very helpful to the child. And with coordinated family care and family support, mostly family support helps the parents, you know, um, with different resources within the community. They also advocate. They'll come to the school, to their IEP meetings, and advocate for them. That is a huge help because a lot of times the parents don't know what to say, don't know what to ask, and they are so experienced and they know exactly how to talk to the teachers, and it's a wonderful thing. It really is. I would definitely, you know, have any parent do this. Um, Sometimes if a child is going to, like, say, a behavioral hospital because they are not feeling safe, you know, a lot of times the workers there will suggest CMO.
Mm.
And that is a really good thing, and they'll help you with it, and they'll help them with it. Um, yeah, that pretty much, covers that with CMO and FSO. They're wonderful teams. They really are.
Now, would you say FSO is more about helping the family then, and the CMO is more geared towards school, towards the kid? No, I mean, I like.
Yeah. Family support is more to help the parent
Okay,
and the kid, but it's mostly like for the parent. And CMO is mostly for the kid.
okay.
Yes.
So now, how would you get in touch? If you're looking for, like, how would you get in touch? Would that be through, like, if they're in the rehab hospital, psych hospital, whatever?
Well, if they're in the hospital, it's easier and quicker if the hospital calls
Yeah.
CMO, or well, I should say perform care, you know.
Okay,
And
so
then once they get discharged, then they'll have somebody come out, and that's when everything starts.
right. So
Instead of like, I don't know how, maybe it takes a little bit longer if a parent calls compared to if a hospital calls them.
So, who would you recommend that they talk to then at the hospital? Social worker or like just anybody? Just find like a doc or a nurse or like just have them point you towards it, or
Um, well, yeah, probably the social worker or the doctor and the psychologist there.
hmm,
Definitely help the parent too, and give them the right, recommendations.
hmm,
But even if the child did not go to a hospital,
hmm.
the parent can just call perform care,
Okay, okay.
and
So they
that's
can
who they would have to call first anyway.
we'll put the number below if you're in New Jersey, and I'm sure other states do have something equivalent that you can always ask at your hospital or like ask for if you have a therapist or something along those lines. You can always ask. It just is like this kind of the way it's integrated kind of stood out to me, and I looked. It's like it doesn't seem like it's like quite works the same. We do have another video where it talks about on and offline resources, and like Pennsylvania has some stuff in other states, but it just doesn't seem integrated the way that New Jersey has a nicely like click together kind of program. But I'm sure, and anyone who's watching this, if you have recommendations or anything, please put in the comment section below and mention, hey, we have this or we have that. And I would love to see that, other states, because I'm sure they've got something. I just wouldn't know where to look. And I'm sure, the Brain Injury Association of America, your state Brain Injury Association, someone and for other disability groups. It doesn't matter whether it's brain injury or not. It could be like, the National Alliance of Mentally Ill, or whether it's for CP or learning disabilities or what have you. I'm sure they have something in some way to get in contact for that. And so I'm certain that, it's like, please share below. That definitely would be helpful.
Yes, very
Um,
important.
Now, I know you had mentioned a 504 plan. Can you talk a little bit about that?
A 504 plan is more about, like, say if your child has ADD, ADHD, and they need, a little bit of help, in their classrooms, in their classes, either with tests, you know, because
Mm,
they can't focus on the test or whatever. 504 gives them accommodations,
mm,
like, for that. Either they can take test a little bit longer, or maybe something with their homework. They'll make some kind of accommodations, or what they might do is, they probably will do is have an aide in the classroom also.
okay.
That way, in case your child, is not really understanding the teacher and doesn't feel comfortable raising their
Mm,
hand,
okay.
then at least, they could do like a little, like, okay, if I put this like index card on my desk, then the aide will come over to me and be able to answer any questions. Um, that pretty much sums up the 504 plan. I know it gets updated every, not updated, redone every year.
Okay. Which leads us to the next one, which is the IEP, the Individualized Education Plan, which is federal law. Because where we have education, like general, have public education, the IEP is the Individualized Education Plan, 94-142, which was passed obviously in 1994, and 101 476, which includes traumatic brain injury as a category. Could you explain the IEP, please?
Well, the IEP is more, it's a lot better to have for your
Mm,
child to have. It gives them a lot more help, let's just say. You know, I mean, as well as like, see, like taking their test a little bit longer, or,
mm,
being able to, like, say, walk out of the room if you need to, depending on what the situation is. Um, that is a big help. And say your child is not able to handle being in district, being in a
okay.
big classroom.
Mm,
Say you can only handle a class of, like, say, 10 students.
mm,
Well, basically, CMO, your manager, and your FSO, your parent partner, will advocate for that,
mm,
because the district would have to pay for the tuition and the transportation. So what happens is, in a case like that, like, say, the child could not stay in a regular school
right.
classroom in the district, then what you'd have to do is basically tour 3 schools.
Okay.
You Um, I believe they give you a choice. I think there's like 3 choices I believe they give you. I
Mm,
believe. I believe. And you basically tour the schools, and then you let them know which school that you're interested in.
mm.
And then it takes a little bit of time for them to do their thing, but eventually comes out that the child is able to go to the other school,
So if
thankfully.
it's smaller, has better resources, or if it's better, like more accommodating for
Yes,
your
absolutely.
student or your child, or further, that's maybe it's smaller, maybe it's got like something unique that your child should need, but it's a plan that is literally individualized, hence the I, is to help their education and what meets their unique needs. But they obviously would have to meet certain criteria, diagnostic criteria. So you obviously would need from a doctor or
Yes.
psychologist something saying that your child needs these. So I
Yes,
assume that's harder to
absolutely.
get than the 504 plan.
Yes, it is. It takes more time to get it. I will say that.
And
But
if I
that's, like I said,
remember,
that's why you have your advocates
hmm,
to help you, to be able to talk to the school and, do what they have to do. Thank goodness for that.
yeah, I mean, and you guys have an advantage. Now I know you have family that has had to use the that has needed an IEP, correct?
Absolutely. For about 4 or 5 years, we did,
Hmm.
and they were
So,
wonderful people.
so how do you feel about it? How do you feel? Do you feel it was
I
helpful?
love it. I love it. It is the best thing for any child to have. Believe me,
So
it
was it
really is.
helpful? And how did it help you? How did it serve your needs?
It took stress off me,
Hmm.
believe it or not. So I wasn't like going crazy, And then if I had any problems or questions, I could talk to them.
Hmm.
Um, it was, I felt more comfortable having them. And then also, what FSO, the Family Support group, did was they taught a lot of his parents about, it's called Nurtured Heart.
Oh, okay.
yeah, nurtured heart. Basically, I know they were trying to implement it in schools.
Mhm.
I think some of them they did. I'm not sure, but basically, it's about helping. Let's see, like if your child's acting a certain way, kind of like not the way you want them to,
Mhm.
behaviorally,
Behavioral
and it's
problems.
yeah, and it's basically how to talk to them with the
Mhm.
nurtured heart process, you know, and you basically, tell them, okay, well, you're acting this way. Why do we, talk about this? Why, they have different ways of being able to, handle the situation, talk to your child, so that
Mhm.
way, and praise your child
So
all the time.
teaching
For
therapeutic communication.
that is the biggest thing.
Teaching therapeutic communication. Interesting. Now, is this mainly for the parents then? It's teaching the parents how to communicate.
Yes. And or the grandparents, whoever,
Yeah, yeah, the caretakers. Yeah,
yes,
interesting.
absolutely.
And mainly dealing with behavioral.
Yes. And like I said, they might be doing it in schools, I really don't know. Um, or, residential homes. I
Mhm.
know they are doing that. Whether it's working, I don't know. But they are doing it at residential group homes.
Mhm.
So it's definitely a good thing. It really is. It really helps. And you pretty much have a much better relationship with your
Mhm.
child.
If you remember our video on irritability and aggression, you remember for behavioral analysis, one of the things we talked about is simple and directive language as well as positive reinforcement. And even when you're dealing with negative reinforcement, where you're talking about taking things away to increase behavior as well as positive and negative punishment. It's like you want to avoid punishment if possible. I mean, obviously, there are certain situations, but well, positive and simplified language being important, especially for those people with cognitive problems, cognitive processing and linguistic problems. Again, it even applies in mental illness, since in many cases there's also neurological as well as environmental, but application of behavioral principles, Skinnerian behavioral principles, still work well. Even if you are using medication, the application of Skinnerian as well as some cognitive processing, but classic behaviorism here applies too. See our other video about that. But
Absolutely.
this ties in, and nurtured heart is resembles much of those kind of principles of basic CBT principles in essence here, but in a more simplified way for parents who don't have the psych background and who don't have the neuroscience background. But basically, that's what it is. It's really a clever way of doing, and to teach families who wouldn't know any of these principles, but they are effective generally. Obviously, it's like you need to apply other techniques, but still. So anyway, with apologies, but
And to add on to your with CBT,
mm,
the cognitive behavior therapy,
mm,
there's also dialectical behavior
dialectical.
therapy,
Yep.
which is wonderful.
Skill teaching. Yep, absolutely.
Yes. But it doesn't always work for every child,
Mm,
and they have to want it.
mm,
But that's more for kids that have mental illness,
mm.
not so much cognitive.
It does apply to teaching certain skills for cognitive therapy for brain
It
injury.
does.
Oftentimes, like teaching compassionate empathy. See the other video where we talk about even people who have trouble with alexithymia or relearning empathy, the affective components, you still can teach compassionate empathy. And DBT is one of those tools to help reacquire compassionate empathy, even if they have trouble with the certain frontal lobe injuries. You can teach compassionate empathy, which is a whole other thing. Like I said, see the video there. But DBT has applications there as it is practical skills applications.
It's a wonderful thing.
It is. It is an excellent Um, and also positive psychology, which is also used in teaching empathy, but that is a new application. And positive psychology, I have not discussed, but we'll get into it. And I'm a believer in a lot more psychological, cognitive, and behavioral modes than I am in medication. Medication has its place, but it is usually for containing extreme behaviors and for assisting in certain elements like paranoia or extreme behaviors that are unable to be controlled until you can apply long-term cognitive and behavioral techniques to teach and acquire, assist in the acquisition for long-term applications. Medication is good for short-term and for extremes, but for
Yes.
shaping and forming behaviorism, cognitive, affective teaching. Hmm. All right. With apologies, back. Did you find that there were certain other things that you gained beyond this long term that you would
I'm
feel
sorry.
long term, advantages from these things for your child that,
Oh, with DBT, you mean?
well, no, just general from these programs for, the family services as well as perform care and things like that, were helpful.
Uh, you know, I do. It helped my daughter be able to, basically handle talking to, people that, she may not have wanted to.
Mm.
But what was interesting, I will say this, in the very first meeting that she had, the CMO manager and the therapist, they had no idea what to talk about with my daughter. So
Mhm.
then the FSO worker comes, she sits down, and she starts talking about her guinea pig.
Ah.
Well, that was all it took.
Mm.
That was all it took from my daughter, because my daughter is an animal lover. And that was it. And that's all they had to do instead of just sitting there wondering, oh, what should we talk about? Wow. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's what's good about family support. They know, she knows how to talk to the kids. It's such it's amazing. It really is. The relationship that they form with your kids is amazing. And the parents as well.
I,
It's a wonderful thing.
I'm really impressed. I mean, I have to admit that, and it's like, and you had talked about like helping with transition for college and stuff like that. I'm sure there are services provided to assist in that too when it's time. I mean, whether it's trade school, university, whatever, when it's time for
Yes.
them to move on, there's help and support there too.
Yes, they basically would bring their records, to the college and to whoever they would have to bring it to, and then, they would give them accommodations as well,
Mhm.
whatever they may be. I'm not really sure what the college is, but they do.
Right.
Because they do give them accommodations.
A lot of them have like offices of diversity and things. A lot of university and colleges, and so do a lot of trade schools and things like that. They have that. And is there like job coaching or anything like that if they decide to go right just for, a job or whatever? Do you know?
Probably, I believe so. If somebody had told me about that you could actually, for someone just trying to find a job,
Mm,
I believe that they could tell them about their IEP as well.
mm.
I did hear that. I don't know what they do and everything because we never had to deal with that right now.
Okay. Huh. Okay.
But yeah, the
I,
parent can look into that.
I do want to thank you because we're kind of wrapped up with this, but I do want to thank you for sharing it. This is a really neat, like interlocking programs and how they work and help with district and with the parents and support. And one last thing, I guess a parent would ask: would they provide respite if a
I'm
parent needs a day or two, like break or something like that? Would they provide that? Do you know?
Wait, provide them a break?
A respite, and as if they need a day or two away, if there's a behavioral, the parents need some rest time or something like that, or don't you know?
I don't know. That would have to be discussed with them.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I don't really know.
hopefully we can talk
They
to
wouldn't
somebody.
come in and watch your kid for you, no.
No, well, I mean, get a service that would do that. We can ask, I guess, we can see if we can interview
Yes,
somebody from.
FSO would probably be able to help you with that. That I can tell you,
Okay.
because they deal with a lot of services within the community.
Okay. So they're broad ranging too. They might be able to
Yes.
get you a ramp if you need one, or like find a wheelchair for you, something like that if it's necessary.
Right.
That's pretty comprehensive. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
So
wonderful thing.
I'm hoping that we can talk to somebody, like from FSO or something like that. That would be really neat. And so perhaps we'll be able to collaborate and find, a way to talk to somebody from them.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
I want to say thanks again, and say, it's like it was great as always talking to you. Please, those
Oh,
of
you're
you out
quite
there,
welcome.
if you have any suggestions, any questions for Lisa or for myself, please put them in the link below. Lisa does answer a lot of questions for us, and she does come up with a lot of good ideas. I mean, this
Mhm.
is one of hers, this family support. And any questions regarding families or family questions, kids, otherwise, please like to say, hey, below, please share this video with those who think would
Yes.
benefit. Please click like and subscribe, the bell icon below, so you can receive updated notifications. And if you have suggestions for series or anything like that, we'll take a look. And, if as it relates to what we do, that's important, and we would appreciate that. And hope you enjoyed. And as I said, please click like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon below. Thank you very much, and have a good day.